Hello and welcome to Longshot Larry Sports Astrology. Looking at the FIFA World Cup 2022, we're in the knockout stage. Going to be looking at some mundane techniques, which is the astrology of nations. And we're going to be looking at how the countries and coaches line up. I'm going to be looking at the lunar eclipse from the 8th of November in particular. I think it's possibly the most important chart. I'm also going to be looking at the new moon. I'm going to focus on the top 8 countries according to the bookmakers. So that's Brazil, Argentina, France, Spain, England, Portugal, the Netherlands and Croatia. So the first chart I'm going to look at is the new moon. Now the idea is this will have an influence for 4 weeks from the 23rd of November. The finals on the 18th of December. So we're looking for planets which are on angles or trine or square the MC to give an indication of how those planets are affecting or influencing the country over that period. So we look at the capital of the country. So this one's for Lisbon in Portugal, the capital of Portugal. This one here you can see Saturn is pretty close to the descendant, within just over a degree away. You don't really want Saturn there unless it's well aspected, so that's a bit of a challenge for Portugal in the next 2 weeks. Looking at England, we can see that Saturn is exactly square the MC at the time of this new moon. That's a bit of a challenge for England. For Madrid, you can see Uranus is exactly on the MC. Now Uranus has shown up quite a lot in World Cup victories going back through time on an angle in one of these charts. It tends to be excitement, so I think excitement's going to be running high in Spain. Now Uranus is 3 degrees separating from a square to Saturn. This Uranus-Saturn square has been in operation the last 3 months of this year. I think it's probably far enough away now that that's not an issue, so Spain should have a good... so that looks favourable for Spain. And if we look at Brazil, the capital of Brasilia, see that Jupiter is exactly on the MC. So I looked at all the top 8 countries. These were the 4 charts which showed something happening there, and Jupiter at the time is applying a sextile to Pluto. It won't reach it. Jupiter's just turned stationary direct, but Jupiter on the MC looks pretty promising for Brazil. Next chart I'm going to look at is the lunar eclipse. I think this is quite important. The lunar eclipse occurred on the 8th of November, and you can see that the Sun was conjunct Mercury at the time, opposite the Moon obviously in Taurus, but conjunct Uranus, widely square Saturn down here. You don't really want that alignment prominent in your chart, I don't believe. It's a bit of a nasty alignment, that one. So looking at Brazil, there's nothing specifically relating to the MC or anything like that in this chart. If we look at how it lines up for the chart for the country of Brazil, which is the 1822 chart, the Sun is exactly on the MC at the time of this eclipse, which I think is helpful, and Uranus is applying 2 degrees or so away from a trine to the Sun. It will be getting closer as the tournament moves on, so I think that's reasonably positive for Brazil. Looking at the eclipse in Argentina, nothing really standing out there with the angles. If we line that up with the chart for Argentina's independence on 1816, we don't have a time for this chart. You can see the Sun here is 17 Cancer, so Uranus is sextile the Sun is trine the Sun, so that is helpful for Argentina. And Uranus and the Sun are actually square Mars, which is also the Mars of their coach, which is interesting. So that's helpful for Argentina. France, nothing relating specifically to the angles just at the time of the eclipse. If we line it up with the chart for France, this is the 5th Republic chart. You can see here that Jupiter is within 2 degrees of the MC, which is a slight positive there for France, but that's about it for France. Looking at Spain now, nothing happening there with the angles, but if we look at the coach of Spain, how does that line up with the Spanish coach? You can see the eclipse here is opposing his Sun, not helpful. And Saturn is square, a bit past the square, so his Sun is being eclipsed That's a slight negative for Spain, or the Spanish coach, I believe. Looking at England now, at the time of the lunar eclipse, so set for London, nothing happening with the angles there. But if we line it up with the William the Conqueror chart set for England, you can see something quite interesting happening here. So the eclipse is trine Saturn, sextile and trine Saturn, and sextile and trine Mercury. Now Saturn is an important chart for England. Saturn rules the Capricorn Sun and MC, and when England won the World Cup in 1966, this particular alignment was very active. The other thing you can see happening for England is that Jupiter at the time of the eclipse was exactly, or very closely aligned with the Moon, and the Moon represents the public and how they're feeling, and that's very buoyant. And the Moon natally for England is sextile Venus and square Uranus, which is a lot of excitement. Now Jupiter is stationed now and is moving back to sextile Venus. I would point out that England has already won the T20 World Cup, so that could be indicative of how the eclipse played out, but it's quite powerful in the chart set for, but this eclipse lines up quite closely with the English chart. I've just thrown in Germany here. You can see the eclipse is close to the MC, and Saturn was exactly square the MC, and Germany didn't actually make the finals. Looking now at Portugal, Mars is trine the MC, which is a minor positive. There wasn't much lining up for the coach or country in that. If we look at the Netherlands, it doesn't line up with any angles there. Looking at Croatia, Croatia is interesting. Venus is applying to the MC here within a degree, and Venus is trine Neptune, which is helpful for them. Pluto close to the ascendant, it's 3 degrees away, which is probably a bit too far. If it was closer to the ascendant, I'd say that would be more powerful for Croatia. Looking at the country chart for Croatia, very interesting when we line it up with the chart set for Croatia, 25th of June 1991. The eclipse is actually square, or applying to a square to Mars and Venus, with Saturn opposite. Mars and Venus are natally square Pluto, trine the Moon, sextile the MC. It's a very important degree area for Croatia. Does that mean there's a lot of, I have a feeling it might be there's a lot of resentment about some decisions in one of the games for Croatia, but very powerful links here for Croatia. In summary then, probably Brazil looks the best, but they are the favourites. Argentina has definitely something positive going on. I didn't see much for France. Spain, I think it's going to be a very exciting period. The eclipse lining up with the coach is a bit of a concern. England, there's a lot going on. However, Saturn is square the MC at the time of that new moon. Portugal also has a bit of a Saturn issue. Croatia does look very interesting. If it was a boxing tournament or something like that with a Mars-Pluto alignment, you'd say they'd be favourites, but very interesting for Croatia. And Netherlands, the coach's chart seems to have a few challenges there. So probably looking at this alone, you'll be favouring Brazil, but we'll see who makes the final, and we'll make another video then. So thanks very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.